Yes. What we do is like the icing on the cake. I say that because we have about 14 or 15 African embassies here, and each one of them has been given a mandate or a mission to forge, in addition to forging a very cordial relationship with the Sultanate of Oman, also to develop business partnerships with organizations, governments here. So they do a lot in that respect. And actually, they have the capacity to get things done back home. So what we are doing is we feel that it's not good to leave it at national levels. Every country, you bring investors to your country. What about countries here that don't have embassies? There are some African countries here, including mine. So when we talk about Africa, we then create a platform, an opportunity that covers the entire continent. So it goes beyond what the embassies do. But in terms of effectiveness, it is the embassies that try to address some of these issues. If an Omani investor, for example, wants to invest in Tanzania, he has a place to go to, the Tanzanian embassy, and then they can, and if there's any problem arising from that, then the embassy can help him to redress it. But like I said earlier, our message is we do understand that there are so many hitches that can discourage people from going over to our beautiful climates and environments to invest. I've mentioned some of them. Corruption is one of them. Then the crisis, nobody wants to go to a place where insecurity, conflicts. We do know that these things exist everywhere else in the world, but it's not an excuse for why it should linger forever in our place. And we know that it can be fixed. So we make gestures and we give out messages asking for these things to be addressed. According to estimates, it's going to create the largest trading area in the entire world. So this encompasses, it creates a market of about 1.2 billion people and gross domestic product which has been estimated between $2 and $5 trillion. So we thought about it, and actually the mission or the vision of this African committee is to join hands. We do understand that we can exist as individual countries, but we look at the bigger picture. We look at what we can benefit by banding together. There is a proverb. Proverbs are very important in Africa. They send a lot of messages. And this one comes from Tanzania. It says that when ants, little ants, when they come together, they can pull a locust.
Oh, this is true.
Yes, but if you just have an individual ant, it can't do that. But when they come together, and there are also other proverbs which say the same thing, even the ones we've had here about one hand not being able to slaughter an animal, things like that. So our mission is to get together, and what the African Union has done is something that we applaud. Africans should get together and benefit from that unity, the unity and the strength that comes from it. After our events, we submit a report to the ambassadors, and every embassy sends a report back to their home country. And I believe that they do listen to what we have outlined in those reports and probably would use them in terms of policies and other things, like you mentioned, things to do for the youth. It's not like they don't know, but we also try to remind them, to let them know. And for this event that we're planning this year, in order to have a follow-up, because we don't believe, like I said earlier, that after the night, people are just going to start queuing up to go and invest in Africa. So we have planned that after this, sometime later in the year, probably November, in line with the celebration of Oman National Day, we're going to have an exhibition on the same theme, where we are planning for the embassies to bring companies, businesses from home to interact with the community here. Yeah. And by the sidelines also, we bring our Africans, the expatriate, the Africans in diaspora, those who are living here, and try to alert them to the opportunities that exist so that some of them who might want to go home and make investments would have the information that they need. They would also be able to meet people on the ground and exchange very useful notes. Africans should get together and benefit from that unity, the unity and the strength that comes from it. So that's why we chose the theme this year, to draw attention to the potentials of Africa. Sometimes investors ask, why should we go to Africa when there are political crises, when there is instability, and most importantly, when most Africans are leaving Africa? They're going abroad for the so-called greener pastures. But people who think out of the box, who look at things critically, don't just see that. What they see is that the problems that are driving people out of Africa are also bringing people into Africa. And then we decided to have this theme. The next question was, who should be most suitable to present something like this? Because in this event that's coming up this Friday, we are planning to have Omani investors in our midst. Some of them will be invited by ambassadors, and not just from Oman only, but also from the expatriate community. Okay. So in order to give credibility to the issue we're trying to raise, we have invited an expert in the person of Mr. Zemedine Negatu. He's an Ethiopian, but he is somebody who is internationally reputed for his experiences in entrepreneurship, in business management, financial services, and he is coming as a guest speaker. He will talk about this issue, and it's possible that before the event he might be meeting a number of groups of people who would want to network with him, or even after the event. But what we're not too ambitious. We're not trying to say that on that night we're going to transform Africa, we're going to get everybody rushing to Africa. What we're doing is like beating the drums, creating awareness. You never know, and trying to find out the little things that can happen in terms of people listening to us and maybe doing one or two things. That's what we're not activists who try to force change overnight. We try to do the little we can